when she's passing you.
It's 30-15.
A player should always try to play within themselves first. That should be plan A.
I think the wind took that ball a bit.
It did. Carried it right over the baseline. She's telling herself to come on. An unforced error by Chris Evert. I don't know, maybe she thought Pam was going to move to right, Virginia. I'm not sure.
I think she did watch Pam, and then I think again the ball swirled in the wind. This is, you have to be so careful at watching the ball every second in the wind, and you just don't, you have to take chances on where your opponent is rather than take your eye off the ball.
Deuce.
Gets it back to Deuce. Become very overcast after being bright and sunny most of the day.
Chris Evert concentrating, telling herself to get her first serve in. And she does.
Advantage, Shriver.
And blessedly, I think, the wind has changed so that the takeoff pattern from LaGuardia has changed. There are no more airplanes around.
They'll be back.
Deuce.
Pam's actually generally been going in an approach shot from a deeper ball, and I think that being a little bit shorter, she dumped it in the net because she was at full stretch. For a 6-foot tall player, she is about the usual speed. Sometimes the extra height slows you down a little bit.
Pam Shriver is attacking Chris Evert's forehand, especially trying to keep the ball basically down the middle to Chris Evert's right side, her forehand, and it's starting to pay off.
You're right, they're back.
Little devils. Pam looking up at the plane, shaking her head, like, how could I do that? I finally got a good volley to put myself back into this set. Crucial moment for both players.
Advantage, Shriver.
Over 19,000 people in this stadium. It's the largest crowd ever to watch a tournament match other than Davis Cup. Back to Deuce. That crowd, of course, a great tribute to the USTA and most particularly to one Slew Hester, who happens to just be looking up at us right now. Is that the wind, Billy, or is that...
I think it's a little bit of everything. I think it's the wind. I think it's probably the most crucial point of the match so far. And you've got to be careful when you're playing in the wind. You try to make it good, but not too good, and sometimes the wind brings the ball down. There she gave it a little... That time, Chris put a lot more effort into her first serve after missing that double fault. This is a long game. I think probably whoever wins this game is going to have a big advantage throughout the match, psychologically.
Advantage, Evert.
I think Pam thought the ball was out. I think some of the crowd did too.
From here, it looked as if it hit right on the line, and sometimes you get a little skid with the ball off the line.
Pam signaled good to Chris. Generally, the players do communicate and tell each other what they thought.
Advantage Evert.
Half volley, backhand. Watch Pam go to the net on this. Watch her, and she turns and doesn't even look at the ball. Looks up and turns around. A little ballet for us.
It's the shot you can sometimes come up when you're a game point down, but can you ever come up with that when you need it to win the game?
Out. Advantage Evert.
There's a good first serve by Chris Evert, making Pam have to move to her right and really reach. Would you like to know what Chris Everett's thinking right now?
Yes, I would.
This is not her style. She's so consistent, very rarely makes errors, but she's also a human being.
There's 3 double faults for this game.
It's the strangest thing I've seen for a long time. I don't know whether the wind's moving around and she feels that she's against it and had to go for a big one there.
Advantage Shriver.
It's one of the few times you see Chris Evert have to run that much.
That makes it 4-all. We had been told earlier today that there was a distinct possibility, a very definite possibility, that Bjorn Borg might have to default because of a sore thumb, a blister on his thumb. We have just been informed that Borg is going to play. So that'll come next. Shriver to serve. That was a fault.
Love 15.
The wind's got to be doing some tricks, Virginia.
Sometimes double faults are infectious. It's the most agonizing thing. Suddenly your opponent will serve someone before you know you catch on and start doing the same.
Love 30.
I think Chris is a little mad that she lost that previous game because she made more errors than she ever does, and that was a great return.
Look at that determination on Chris Everett's face. She's going to fight back harder than ever. This is where Pam Shriver should slow down and make sure she's concentrating. And it's so easy to start rushing at 4-all, especially when you break back after a long game. Watch Pam follow it to net again, and she cross-courted Chris where she had to change directions again. And of course, had all that court to the backhand side. That time, Pam really did fool Chris by hitting behind her.
40, 30.
Wide to Chris's forehand. That's what we've seen all day. It's been very effective. Chris is thinking, I've got to get this return lower, keep the ball in play, make Pam Shriver hit the ball.
The last few, she's been lucky to get the racket on. What a point!
Chris hits that she gets it back somehow. Some inspired play. She reaches with her body. But it wasn't good. She's getting a little of that inspiration that comes in a tight point when the adrenaline's really flowing.
That makes it deuce.
Could not reach it. Had no momentum behind it. In fact, it had backspin, so it almost bounced back towards the net. Wish you had a fish line when you're running up for that one.
Yeah. Game to Pam Shriver, and she leads. Pam Shriver leads 5-4 in the first set. Pat Summerall with Virginia Wade and Billie Jean King. Shriver on the right, and Evert about to serve.
Love.
Won another point, hitting the ball right at Pam Shriver, and then of course a drop shot. A lot of variety to this game.
40-15. Shriver leads 5-4 first set.
Evert played that game like a champion.
She seemed to settle down that game and just realize that she's got to make sure she doesn't make any of the errors that she by chance made the other side.
One of the rare occasions that she has served her first serve to Chris Evert's backhand. When Pam Shriver gets that first serve in, she is tough. Difficult to keep the ball low.
just barely wide.
A great view of that wide serve.
She served such a good second serve, she could almost have come in. Against Martina Navratilova, Pam's lobbed extremely well. It was one of the best lobs I've seen. So just
That was just wide.
15-14.
Good attitude. She went for it. Break point. It's a big point for both of them. Pam taking a little extra moment there to try to make sure she's concentrating to get her first serve in.
Game to Evert. She leads 6-5 in our CBS Sports coverage of the United States Open. Pam Shriver against Chris Evert. Pam from Lutherville, Maryland, seated number 16 in this championship. Chris Evert, of course, from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, seated number 2 behind Martina. Evert leads 6-5 first set.
There was an example of how difficult the wind is. Trying to contend with it, to make up your mind whether to hit it while it's still in the air or if you think the wind is going to take the ball long. Chris is starting to attack more the last couple of games. Goodbye.
30-15.
Virginia, don't you think that Chris Everett's starting to hit the ball with more authority?
yes, I think she's settled down. I think she's decided to really go for a few more percentage shots actually, and just make sure she keeps Pam deep. She's hitting the ball harder and deeper. You see, Pam just has to make such a brilliant approach shot to have a chance of making the volley. She never gets an opportunity to hit an easy volley against Chris. And here's Chris at set point.
Virginia, let's put her real champion in. Tony Travert's coming up.
Both champions.
Keep your seats, please. Thank you.
It's a nice prize for the winner. Not a bad one for the runner-up today. The women's prize money is equal to the men's at this tournament, which is tremendous.